Stop viewing properties. In this video, I'm going to provide a slightly controversial perspective when it comes to the process of buying investment properties. My name is Phil from Let Property, and we help thousands of landlords every year to buy and sell their investment properties through our specialist Tenanted property investment platform. The truth is, when I first started investing in property, going to view them was actually one of the first things I was told to do. Going to all these viewings made me feel really confident about buying, but I've never seen the last 6 properties that I've purchased. I want to start by asking, why are we even going to viewings in the first place? What's the reason we want to view the property? The key phrase that most people use is due diligence. They might describe it as going to get a feel for the property and seeing if it's great, going to see if the property is in good enough condition for them to purchase, to negotiate a price before buying the property. Now, the thing that I find so fascinating about this argument is that most investors who are buying property really don't know how to value a property. They don't know how to do the due diligence that they're talking about. Do you really think that going out to see the physical condition of a kitchen will really help an investor understand what they might need to spend on that property? I'm not against a particularly experienced person going to view a property, but we literally book hundreds of property viewings per week, many times with first-time investors who don't know anything about property investing. They don't know anything about the costs of refurbishing a property, so why are they going out to view a property? The reason is not because they have a specific thing they want to look at, it's generally because it's just the kind of thing that they've always done and thought it was the right thing to do. In this video, I want to challenge that argument and understand more about what we should be looking for and why viewing can often be a waste of time for an investor. Serious investors, I know, don't view anything because not only do they not have the time, there's no real need for them to do so. At Let Property, we employ surveyors, people who are much more qualified than investors to go out to the property and tell us what the condition of the property really is. The job of a property investor is to look at the figures, to see if the numbers stack up and then purchase that property, structuring a deal in a way that they can afford. A property investor is effectively a small-time asset manager. They're not a surveyor, nor an interior designer. It's not their job to go out there and fix up little bits in the kitchen. This is what we employ letting agents or surveyors to do, to provide us with information, to give us feedback so we can be a hands-off property investor. The mistake I see so many new investors make is that they come in with the concept of being a hands-off property investor, and as soon as they find their first property, they become the most hands-on property investor in the world. They go out and view 10 tenanted properties and don't buy a single one. Now, you might hear an edge of frustration from me, but it's because I see this on a daily basis. It's very important to think about this before you decide to book a viewing, because what are you going out to see? What are you going to tell from seeing the property? What are you going to learn from being there? All the properties in Scotland have home reports, and if you're buying a property in England, it's highly recommended to have a survey carried out at some point. If you're getting lending on a property, a survey would be an absolute requirement for you to obtain the borrowing. I have a close friend who recently started investing in property. He's worked as an estate agent all his life, which involved valuing properties. He went to view a property that he purchased about 6 months ago and thought everything was fine. Then, from the moment he purchased the property, there were leaks in the bathroom, the EICR didn't pass, and they had to completely rewire the whole building. There was so much work that needed doing, and this was a vacant property he purchased. But luckily, he got it at an incredible price, so he didn't lose anything on his investment. But think about it. This guy, who has been valuing properties his entire life and still couldn't see the details as to whether this property was a good investment or not from viewing the property. The truth is, if you're in there and you're actively viewing that property, are you really going to find all the problems? Or would it be smarter to get someone, a qualified surveyor who does that for a full-time job, to feed that information back to you in a professional sense? To be very clear, your job as a property investor is to be a mathematician, a financier. My recommendation is to really look for stock that has been pre-vetted. That's why for all of our properties, we do 360 walkarounds. It's just as good as being at a viewing. You can literally come onto our website, look at our property list, and walk around the property from the cameras that have taken the photos from every corner of the room. It means you don't need to physically go out there, and you can actually see the condition of the property from the comfort of your own home. It means that you can look at numerous properties in one evening and don't need to physically go out to them to figure out what the internal condition is like. Your job is to consider the condition, figure out what the worst case scenario is in terms of refurbishment, and decide a financial price you can afford to pay for that property based on the financial goals you have in your portfolio. The common processes we see in the typical high street estate agency world tends to transpire into investment property sales when it's simply not required. I understand going to view a property is important if you're buying the residential home for yourself to live in. But if you're buying an investment, the job is simply invest and make money from that asset. At Let Property, we have over 1,000 tenanted properties ready packaged, providing immediate cash flow for both new and experienced landlords and property investors. If you want to know more about buy-to-let mortgages, check out my most recent video here that explains it all in detail. And don't forget to leave a comment in the box below as I read and reply to every one of them. For more information and expert guidance, visit letproperty.co.uk or click the link below today.